They say the greatest sports legends are born in moments of explosive, undeniable glory, etched forever in a single highlight reel play. But that's a mirage, a trick of memory. We often overlook the grinding, the minuscule decisions, the thousand near misses that truly sculpt greatness. I remember the first half of that Super Bowl like it was yesterday, though honestly, it felt like a year. The air in the room, thick with anticipation just moments before kickoff, had turned into a suffocating blanket of disbelief. Every misplaced pass, every missed tackle, every penalty seemed magnified under the stadium lights, amplified by the gnawing dread settling into the pit of our stomachs. It wasn't just a bad start. It felt like a narrative unfolding, one where the inevitable end was already written. The Chiefs, the modern powerhouse everyone expected to dominate, were flailing, looking more like contenders from a bygone era than the dynasty in the making. The scoreboard kept ticking, the deficit widening, and with each passing minute, the impossible seemed less like a challenge and more like an unshakable, crushing reality. Doubts began to creep in, insidious whispers about whether this juggernaut had finally met its match, whether the magic had simply run out. The swagger that usually defined them was nowhere to be seen, replaced by a grim determination that bordered on desperation. It felt like watching a champion slowly, agonizingly, lose their crown. But even then, amidst the growing despair, there were flickers. Tiny, almost imperceptible shifts in body language, a subtle defiance in a coach's stare, a quick huddle where words were exchanged with an intensity that cut through the noise. It was a refusal to accept the script. It's funny how hindsight illuminates these moments. What seemed like chaotic energy at the time, I now recognize as the slow, grinding machinery of their belief kicking into gear. We were all watching for a big play, a sudden spark, but the reality was far more mundane, far more profound. It was in the details. Even before the coin toss, during their pre-game walkthrough, Patrick Mahomes reportedly spent an unusual extra 10 minutes drilling red zone scramble drills, anticipating the exact kind of high pressure, broken play scenarios they'd inevitably face if forced to chase the game. It wasn't about flashy throws. It was about preparing for the ugliness, for the moments when everything went wrong. This wasn't a team that believed in luck. They believed in rehearsal, in the cold, hard repetition that built an unshakable foundation. The second half began, and for a while, it felt like more of the same, just a slightly slower march towards an inescapable fate. The opposing team, riding high on their first half performance, looked confident, almost dismissive. Yet, something had changed on the Chiefs' sideline. The grim determination had sharpened, evolving into a quiet, almost surgical focus. Every drive, every throw, every block wasn't just a play anymore. It was a brick being laid, slowly, meticulously, in the foundation of a comeback that still seemed improbable to everyone watching. The offense, which had looked disjointed and rushed, started moving with a precision that hinted at something deeper than mere talent. During a timeout early in the third quarter, with the deficit still daunting, offensive coordinator Nagy reportedly used his whiteboard not to draw up a complex play, but to write only next play in enormous letters, a subtle yet powerful psychological anchor for a team prone to overthinking when behind. It was a conscious effort to strip away the overwhelming weight of the scoreboard, to narrow their entire universe down to the immediate task at hand, to the singular objective of winning the next down, the next yard, the next battle. This wasn't just football, it was psychological warfare against themselves, a relentless pruning of doubt to cultivate pure, unadulterated execution. Then came the drives. Not miraculous, game-breaking explosions, but steady, grinding advances. First downs that seemed harder won than touchdowns. A third down conversion here, a crucial tackle there. The deficit began to shrink, almost imperceptibly at first, then with a growing, unsettling momentum for the opposition. The unexpected twist wasn't a sudden, improbable interception or a wild fumble recovery. It was the unwavering, almost chilling composure under siege. It was the collective refusal to panic, to chase the game with desperate, ill-advised throws. Instead, it was an almost methodical dismantling, a patient, calculated surgical strike against a defense that had previously looked impenetrable. Before their final, decisive offensive drive, Travis Kelce, instead of hyping up the team, quietly recounted a specific, almost forgotten 2019 regular season game where they overcame a similar fourth-quarter deficit against a lesser opponent, reminding everyone that this wasn't uncharted territory for their collective belief. It wasn't about believing in a miracle. It was about remembering that they had walked this road before, that the blueprint for defiance was already etched into their collective consciousness. It was a calm, almost academic recall of past triumphs, turning a seemingly insurmountable present into just another problem to be solved with practiced resolve. The confidence wasn't manufactured. It was remembered. The stadium, which had been a cauldron of dread and resignation, slowly transformed. First, a murmur, then a rumble, then a roar that felt like it could shake the very foundations of the earth. The energy shifted, palpable and electric, as if the entire universe had suddenly decided to conspire in their favor. The Chiefs had flipped the script, not with a single dramatic flourish, but with the relentless application of pressure, one perfectly executed play after another. The final minutes were a blur of precision and purpose. Every read, every block, every cut, every tackle was executed with a clarity that seemed impossible given the stakes. They didn't just hope for victory. They engineered it, minute by agonizing minute. The game-winning drive wasn't a sudden surge of adrenaline. It was the culmination of everything they had built, everything they had practiced, everything they had refused to abandon. The final touchdown, the kneel down, the confetti falling, it wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. A testament to a modern powerhouse built not on fleeting brilliance, but on an ironclad belief in their process, an unyielding execution of their plan, and a profound, collective refusal to ever quit. They didn't just win, they reclaimed their identity, cementing their place as a force defined by resilience, not just talent. They didn't just achieve triumph, they became the embodiment of it. Because in those countless invisible plays, in the quiet refusal to yield, is where true legends and true dynasties are truly forged.